Envision standing. Shoeless on an ocean side, your toes sinking into the sun-warmed sand encompassing your feet in heat. As you dig your toes further, the surface intensity gives way to an amazing coolness. Immaculate by the sun. The sand underneath is a reviving difference, have you? At any point considered what's underneath all that sand? Is it simply more sand right down? Or is there something different, something concealed underneath those endless grains? Today we will dive profound into this inquiry and reveal the astounding realities about sand and what's beneath everything. In 2012, researchers at the College of Hawaii assessed that there are 7,500,000,000,000,000,000 grains of sand on every one of the world's seashores, that is 5 times 10 to the force of 18 grains of sand. Yet what precisely is sand in the least difficult terms? Sand is minuscule, bits of rocks and minerals. Yet how do these stones and minerals become sand? Most importantly, not everything sand is made equivalent. The sand you find at the ocean side is not quite the same as the sand in the desert. And that is a result of how it's shaped. For instance, ocean side. Sand is frequently made up of quartz and shell parts, while desert sand could contain more feldspar, a huge gathering of rock-shaping silicate minerals that make up north of 50% of Earth's outside layer. We should return to our ocean side. The sun is warming your skin, the sound of waves crashing close by, down, and let the sand stream through your fingers. It's delicate, practically velvety, that is oceanside sand for you. A result of a long, sluggish dance between the ocean and the land. Oceanside sand is, for the most part, produced using rocks and shells that have been ground somewhere near the steady movement of the waves. An interaction requires countless years. The waves, with their tireless rhythmic movement, behave like a monster rock tumbler, continually beating, crushing, cleaning music over the long haul. These stones and shells separate into minuscule pieces and become the delicate soft sand we love to stroll on each grain. Is a demonstration of the force of the ocean, a little piece of history. Yet what might be said about desert sand? Are dry and breezy, and there's not much of water to assist with separating. Rocks rather the breeze and outrageous temperature. Vacillations. Do the greater part of the work in desert conditions. The temperature can shift decisively among constantly during the day. The sun can warm the desert surface to very high temperatures. Then, as dusks, the temperature can plunge quickly without the protecting impact of dampness or overcast cover. These fast and outrageous temperature changes make the stones extend and contract over the long run. This steady extension and constriction can make the stones break and crack, separating them into increasingly small pieces. The breeze then, at that point, assumes control over whipping across the fruitless scene, getting these little bits of rock and conveying them. Up high over the long run, these particles are kept in new areas, shaping the transcending ridges. We partner with deserts. Yet this cycle isn't quite as basic as it sounds. The breeze doesn't simply get bits of rock and move them around. It's anything but an irregular interaction, no. It's a sensitive equilibrium, a finely tuned framework represented by the laws of material science. The breeze must be sufficiently able to take the grains off the ground, however not so solid that it blows them away totally. We should return to our ocean side again as you stay there, partaking in the vibe of the sand between your toes. You could have asked yourself, what's quite it? The way in which profound does it go and what's underneath everything turns out? You're really sitting on heaps of material, each with its own story. To let know if you've at any point dug an opening at the ocean side, you'll have seen that after a specific point, the sand begins to get wet. This isn't on the grounds that you're near the ocean. You're really experiencing something many refer to as the water table. The water table is the upper surface of the groundwater, the place where the dirt or rock is totally soaked with water. It resembles an underground stream streaming quietly underneath the surface. The level of the water table can change significantly, contingent upon precipitation, the season, and the sort of soil or rock nearby. Yet we should continue to dig as you go further. The sand becomes denser, more conservative. It's not as simple to dig through, however. With some work, you can continue onward and afterward. Unexpectedly, your digging tool hits something hard. You have arrived at. What's known as the bedrock is the strong stone that lies underneath the sand and soil. It resembles the underpinning of a house, giving a steady base to the layers of sand and soil above it. The kind of bedrock can shift contingent upon the area. It very well may be limestone, stone, basalt, or quite a few different sorts of rock. This bedrock is old, frequently millions or even billions of years old. It's a quiet observer to the world's long history, bearing the scars of glacial masses, seismic tremors, and the steady entry of time. Yet what might be said about deserts? What's under all that sand? And how profound does the sand go? You may be envisioning vast profundities of moving sand, yet the fact of the matter is entirely divergent. As a matter of fact, most deserts aren't canvassed in sand at all. They're generally exposed rock or rock. This could appear to be amazing, given the pictures of transcending sand ridges that frequently struck a chord. When we consider deserts, yet these sandy regions known as ergs just make up a little part of desert. Scenes, take the Sahara, for instance. It's the biggest hot desert on the planet, generally the size of the U.S. However, around 20% of the Sahara is shrouded in sand. The rest is comprised of regions like Hamada, which are level rough surfaces, and red, which are rock-covered plains. Like what you could find on Mars, the sand in the Sahara is found in rises that can arrive at fantastic levels. A few ridges in the Sahara can overshadow 180 meters, 590 feet high. That is taller than the Sydney Drama House. Be that as it may, even these huge rises are not simply made of sand. Underneath a specific profundity, you'd find a layer of strong stone or compacted soil known as hard skillet. The profundity of the sand in deserts can fluctuate enormously. In certain spots, the sand could be a couple of meters somewhere down. In others, it could stretch out down for several meters. Yet in the long run, assuming you burrowed down far enough, you'd hit bedrock again. Very much like at the ocean side, this bedrock can perceive us a ton about the historical backdrop of the desert in the Sahara. For instance, the bedrock incorporates layers of sedimentary stone that were set down when the region was covered by a shallow ocean, a long period of time prior. These old rocks give hints to when the Sahara was a totally different spot. Currently, here's where things get truly intriguing. The Sahara hasn't forever been a desert. As a matter of fact, it's gone through various green stages since forever ago, where it was shrouded in vegetation and home to an assortment of untamed life. In 2010, researchers made an entrancing disclosure that gave a brief look into one of these green stages underneath the sands of the Sahara. They found proof of an ancient superlake. This wasn't simply a little waterway, no. This was a pool that would blow anyone's mind, bigger than a portion of the extraordinary lakes in North America. This uber lake, which researchers accept conformed to a long time back, was remembered to have been made when the Nile stream shifted its direction and spilled into the Qattara wretchedness, a low-lying region in the northern piece of the Sahara. The subsequent lake, known as Lake Super Chad, I'm dead. Sirius covered an area of around 400,000 square kilometers, that is, bigger than the whole province of California. This revelation illustrates a Sahara that was a rich green scene overflowing with life. Envision groups of elephants and giraffes meandering along the shores of this tremendous lake while crocodiles and hippos relaxed in the water. It's a long ways from the fruitless desert. We know today, however, the Sahara's change from green to abandoned was certainly not a one-time occasion. As a matter of fact, it's remembered to have happened on different occasions over the beyond a few million years, driven by shifts in the Earth's slant hub and circle around the sun. These movements, known as Milankovitch cycles, influence how much daylight arriving at various pieces of the Earth, prompting changes in environment that shriveled and covered the lake. Yet the Sahara isn't the main spot where amazing things have been found underneath the sand. In certain spots, whole woods have been found under moving sand, hills. That is, on the grounds that sand ridges aren't fixed. They move with the breeze, and over the long run, they can conceal anything in their way, including trees. In any case, when the breeze heads in a different path, the rises can move again, uncovering what was once covered up, and afterward there are sinkholes. These openings structure when the ground breakdowns, and they can frequently be found in sandy regions. Sinkholes structure when water disintegrates the stone underneath the sand, making a depression. When the sand over this hole turns out to be too weighty, it can fall, framing a sinkhole. These sinkholes can be hazardous, yet they likewise give us one more method for seeing what's underneath the sand. So the following time you're at the ocean side or watching a narrative about the desert, recall that there's something else to sand besides what might be expected underneath the grains of sand. Whether on an ocean side or in a desert, lies a world formed by the powers of nature, from the water table and bedrock at the ocean side to the hardpan and old bedrock in the desert. These layers, frequently stowed away from our sight, recount an account of Earth's dynamic history, uncovering that our planet's scenes are not static, however continually changing, and developing over the long haul. So truly underneath every one of those little grains, there's an entire world ready to be found, a universe of rock water, and some of the time even old lakes and secret backwoods. I want to believe that you partook in this excursion underneath the sand. Recall, the world is loaded with marvels, and in some cases they're right underneath our feet. So continue investigating, continue clarifying some things, and continue to search for answers, since no one can tell what you could find.